Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and we are going to answer a question about putting a vertical antenna on the top of a metal building. A lot of shops, especially in rural areas, are metal buildings, often pole barns, and they have metal siding and a metal roof. And then they'll add whatever they need inside. Some of these are climate controlled, some are not. But this fellow here, Frank Gallagher, K5FTK, writes as following. He says he's watched all my videos about metal roofs. He has a metal sided building with a metal roof. In your videos, you said that a vertical antenna mounted near the middle of the roof is a good option, and that is true. My question is there a recommended height above the roof surface that the antenna should be mounted at? My roof does not have a steep pitch, and there are no HOAs, so my mounting options are very flexible. Okay, let's take a look at that. Now, there's two basic kinds of vertical antennas. You've got the quarter wave verticals that need a ground plane, radials, something like that. And now, the problem with using a metal roof as your equivalent of a radial field is that the slits of copper or whatever that's used to make that metal roof are not firmly electrically bonded to each other. So with time, you get a titch of corrosion around the screws and all that sort of thing, and they start to be electrically at different potentials. So it's not a good idea to use the roof itself as your ground plane. So what we can do, there's two things you can do. One, assume that it's a large enough roof, like if you have a big shop, 40 by 60 or something like that. Put the antenna, a ground-mounted type antenna, and just lay the radials out on the roof. You might want to kind of attach them in some way so they don't go all blown to the side or something. But that's a good thing you can do. Then you send your cable up, and the cable attaches to the center, goes to the vertical part of the antenna, and the braid goes to all of the radials. Now, right at the center of that might be, and you can play with this, might be a good point to ground that center point to the roof panels, because it may very well be that you can get some extra about that. I'd go with an experiment on that to see what works best. Another way of looking at this is that you have radials that are elevated, you're above ground level, so you'd put in tuned radials, 2 for each band, quarter electrical wave. I'd go with just a bunch of radials spread kind of evenly around the thing. Now, the radials will slope down. Is that okay? The answer is yes. The feet point impedance of a standard vertical antenna is on the order of 37, 38 ohms, something like that. So you're going to have about a 1.5 to 1 SWR already. Now you can knock that out with the tuner and not have any problem at all with that. Now the other kind of vertical antenna is the end-fed half-wave vertical. These are the ones that say you don't need radials, okay? They have some fairly big counterpoises sticking out at the bottom, but these antennas don't need the radials. You're putting them atop a roof that does kind of act groundishly. And a lot of the manufacturers for these suggest that the base of the antenna be 10 feet above the surface. And so you don't want to mount it right on the metal, but get a mast 5 feet tall or a little bit bigger. Now you're going to have to guy that mast, okay, sturdily. So you'll get guy bolts that will go right in through the metal roof and into the beam underneath that is holding it up. Usually those are wood, not all, some are metal. What you can do with those is you can create a clamp on there and then push up through the metal roof, an eyepiece you can screw down into that, and that will work fairly well if you don't want to go through the trouble of drilling through the beam. I wouldn't drill through the beam anyway because it creates a weak spot, a spot from which cracks can form. So there you have it. I would probably go with the quarter wave vertical, multi-band if you want, because you got that great big roof up there. It can kind of form part of the radial plane. It can at least act like a ground underneath it. The other one, you need to get up a little bit more, so you've got to guy it very thoroughly and so on. Some larger standard quarter wave vertical antennas that are multi-band still need to be guyed at a certain point, about halfway up. For example, my step IR, big IR needs to be guyed at 2 separate points on that, and I have it guyed to near the base of some nearby trees. You won't have to go all the way to the ground. You can just guy it to the metal roof. I would not clip it to the edge of the roof because wind can be very powerful and just peel your roof back. So make it strong. Now, the guying for the roof can be nylon cord, but don't use parachute cord. Parachute cord stretches. The parachute cord is designed to stretch a little bit so that when that chute opens above you, it very suddenly slows you down. There needs to be a little bit of give in there so it doesn't break your bones when that thing opens. You can get cord from DX Engineering that will handle that very nicely. Mastrant is another maker of non-flexible cord that is rated for outdoor use with UV resistance, okay? You might want to replace those rope guys every 10 years, 5 years or 10 years. Keep checking on them to make sure they're not coming apart. One loose guy can bring the whole thing down. So there you have it. You've got lots of options. A lot of the metal buildings, they come up like this, but not quite to each other. And then there is a sort of a bracket over the top of it. It's about this wide that allows air to flow out and up. You don't want that if you're going to climate control it, because the heat will go out in the winter. But this is a very easy way to get something through. Now, the edge of these roof panels can be quite sharp, so put some rubber or a grommet or something like that so that it doesn't, as the wind wiggles, it doesn't cut through the coax and sever it, which can easily happen, by the way. So, good luck. Having a nice big metal roof like that is great, and enjoy it. Now, do you want to run that to ground from that middle point? You could if you want to, but still, you will want to run the coax outside to a lightning arrestor and then into the metal building. You also want to make sure that the metal building is grounded well, just for lightning protection. So there you have it. I hope that helps. In the meantime, 73.